advancements in AI and hyperautomation, alongside digitalization and digitization, are changing our reality, not only from the way that we relate with each other, but also from the way that we learn and work in business. Welcome all today to the Art of Business Studio. We're here for the panel of The Future of Work, and with me we have Sylvain, Monika, Astrid, and Meg. Thank you very much. Sylvain, let's start with you. Can you all please introduce yourself and your role?
So quickly, I'm Sylvain. I'm a member of BCG's Global Executive Committee, and I'm leading a newly formed entity, BCG X, which is our tech build and design unit, basically 3,000 engineers building software solutions and lots of AI deployed at our clients.
Oh, wonderful. Monika?
Hello, I'm Monika. I'm the head of curation and community of the House of Beautiful Business. The House is an experiential thought leadership platform that is all about making business more sustainable, inclusive, purposeful, in one word, more beautiful.
Fantastic. Astrid?
Oh, hi, Astrid. I'm a member of the board of management at Volkswagen, in specific the Volkswagen commercial vehicle side, and then responsible for the topics people and transformation.
So cool. Hi, I'm Meg Bear. I'm President and Chief Product Officer of SAP SuccessFactors, and we are interested in building systems that help put people at the center of business and make work better.
Ah, fantastic. That's what we're all here for. So first of all, I want to start with you, Astrid. It's not a secret for anybody that Volkswagen commercial vehicles is one of the key players in autonomous driving. But how is hyperautomation and AI affecting within the company? How are the employees actually working with this?
I guess like many companies nowadays, we are all driven to automate and digitalize our business processes. And I think there are three reasons why. Because on the one hand, our employees expect a business world that is just as digitalized as their normal outside world, as easy, as quick, as fast in everything they do. Number two, I think we will get less and less knowledge workers in the world. So we need to optimize the processes, and we have to play the time free of our people so that they can really start to work on problem solving, on creativity, and utilize the data that we can get from the system world instead of doing administrative topics that are no longer, I do believe, a topic for our people nowadays.
Okay.
So an example is for us, we apply an example SuccessFactors, and topics for us are to really digitalize processes for our employees here end to end. So when you have the process where people request time off, that process has to be digitalized end to end. It makes it easy for our people. They don't want to fill out a form. They don't want to wait days until somebody has signed it. Nowadays, it happens then within an hour that it has run through management, through the Workers' Council, and they have their response. And that's, I think, their expectation on how it should work.
That's the best, because for me personally, when I was applying for jobs, always 3 months, super nervous. Am I gonna get in? Am I not? Yeah. But yeah, I want to build upon what you just said of automating business processes. And this is sometimes done by companies in order to subtract a little bit of the bureaucracy that we have. Actually, on the TED Talk that Sylvain has regarding how AI and humans can work together in order to create better business, you touch upon that topic. Can you maybe build a little bit on that?
Yes, I think, as you just said, technology can bring a lot, AI can bring a lot to workers, but still we see some concerns in the workforce. And when we survey teams in the OECD countries, basically 1/3 of the workforce, when you say AI, feels my job will be automated, I'll be out of a job. 1/3 feel, there will be AI in processes, I don't know how to do AI, I will be out of a job. And just 1/3 feels safe. Of course, that's not what's happening. But we've had a bit of hubris from certain technology company, everyone claiming that solution can do medicine better than doctors, design better than designers, marketing better than marketers, and all that, and all that, and all that. That's scaring. And I do believe that the true impact is when you combine intelligence, when you amplify what I call, a human plus AI, not just like algocracy automating everything. And maybe two quick examples to put some real life into that. 2 jobs which today everyone is a bit stressed, and ChatGPT is bringing more thing into play. Designers and auditors. Auditors, we've been working on solutions for consumer good companies who are using ingredients and food, and they want to make sure it comes from responsible agriculture. They have auditors who are supposed to go once a year somewhere on the ground, in the farm, check things, yes, good, very hard to do your job. Using AI, using technology, using geolocation, using many different type of technology, you can assess where there is the highest risk of fraud. Maybe child labor, for instance, if you see some sort of production which is much higher than what it should be. And then the role of the auditor is much better, because what you do is you are looking for a real problem. You know there's something fishy somewhere. Yeah. Designers. I did have the privilege to try to convince designers in fashion to use AI. And they go like, guys, design. And if we get there to tell them, look, the thing is going to design things for you or understand trends better than you, you're out. But the designer says, your machines, if by any chance they could help us, because as designers, I spend my life spotting trends and I know what will burst. I don't know when. Any chance AI could help us not find what's trending, but among what we think is cool, what will be coming in 6 months or in 2 years. And here you create massive value. So in a nutshell, combining intelligence brings tremendous value to teams, to people. And the paradox is people are very scared, teams are very scared when you deploy AI, technology, digital. In the end, we run a survey with MIT on those topics. 75% of teams where these technologies have been deployed, they see an increase in morale. So there's a way to make it, friendly between AI, machines, digital, and people.
Oh, that's fantastic. Actually, yeah, we at the Intelligent Enterprise Institute have a very similar mentality. You know how generally, and I attribute this to Hollywood, people are scared to technology, and also they have this fear of losing their jobs. But we actually think that technology can make it more human, that it can give us the opportunity to have more active roles. Yeah. Going into that, one company that I really, really like is House of Beautiful Business. You guys are really bringing the human aspect into the work environment. And I want to ask you, Monika, do you think that technology is making the future of work more human?
I think the technology and the advancement and everything that you just touched on, Sylvain, is forcing us to, I think, reconnect with what it actually means to be human and what other intelligences and knowledge sources there are to tap into, such as the body, somatic intelligence, and not just being always up here and making arguments from the rational ways, but also feeling and tuning into your body as a source, ancient knowledge. So learning from the past in order to move on into the future, and is similarly also and nude education or sentimental education of the heart. So you said empathy at the beginning when we started. I think it's not only that, it's really compassion. So not only I relate to what you feel, I feel you, and what does that mean? And I think on top of that, there's also a space now opening for a new kind of spiritual awakening into a kind of spiritual consciousness that is increasingly important, especially if we treat with so many different topics that we have to navigate.
Yeah. And how can we make sure, Sylvain, that the new technologies actually keep in mind these type of new intelligences that Monika was telling about?
I think a lot of that is working with diverse teams, diverse backgrounds, different lens on topics, and that's the way to enrich. Okay. And it's also making sure that we will not hope or expect technology to solve the whole of it. Mm-hmm. And we need to keep humans in the loop, and there are many different ways to do that. There are many dimensions in life.
Like what, for example?
So,
in what way?
To keep humans in the loop?
Yeah.
I mean, some companies feel I keep a human in the loop because I have AI spitting decision and I ask some people to vet. Yeah, that's being in the loop, but that's very low interaction. High interaction is combining inputs from data that AI can get and inputs from human that only human can get. And that you can do that if you combine those intelligence. And this thinking around let's be broad in what we build, and let's also make sure we have diverse teams to take all angles into consideration is very important. Maybe one concrete example. Big topic, I'm sure Volkswagen, you must be on this one. Preventive maintenance in every factories. Now, everyone has AI spotting, where the big risk of failures on my lines and all that. You have two ways to solve that. One way is to say, okay, through AI, I will know exactly where are the highest risks, so I give that list to the maintenance team, and they will figure out for the week on what to do to prevent failures. The other way is to adopt a sort of optimization engine, scheduler, that will tell every maintenance person every 15 minutes where they need to go, what they need to do. And they're like, Muppets obeying AI. You don't get the same outcome for your teams, for your people, for your process, for the engagement of teams. That's where you need eyes, which are not just like productivists. Yeah. You need eyes and with a human understanding on what will work best in the end. Because in the end, you need to recruit people, you need to have your team engaged, you need all of those dimensions, and maybe treating them like Muppets and telling them every 15 minutes what they should be doing looks good if you have one angle on metrics and numbers, but probably Monika wouldn't like that.
Yeah, and actually, in order to avoid those kind of Muppets and everything, as Sylvain was referring to, what do you think are the skills or the mindset required for the current workforce?
Well, I think for the current and the future workforce, I believe what is less and less the topic is to learn and repeat. Okay. And that's what quite often the schooling came from, right? Mm-hmm. So what we need more and more as people have less and less just repetitive actions that they have to take, they need to learn this kind of critical thinking regarding you see a problem, you start questioning it, you start to get to the root and get together, you mentioned it before, in these diverse teams with as many people from different functions as you can to find solutions for it. And all of that as well in a proactive mode. So I think there's as well a big switch in the future in the management and leadership to really educate the people and allow the people to be on a self-intrinsic way of doing these kind of topics in the companies and not just acting because you were told to do this.
Yeah, that's very true. And actually, that all goes into human capital management. And who better to talk about human capital management than Meg? What do you think companies are doing to develop those
skills? I just want to build on all of this because this is exactly where I see the most interesting things happening. So first off, I think that in the past, we wanted to find processes and systems to solve problems. And that helped get us to a certain level of automation. It helped get us to a certain level of productivity. In the last 20 years, productivity has grown dramatically. But what we see is that we took a very constrained idea about what humans were bringing to the table and a very constrained idea of what technology was bringing to the table. And we did think of ourselves as cookie cutters. We had jobs, people did jobs, and they sat in roles and they worked on that for a certain number of years, and then they retired. And we talked about processes from hire to retire. And at the end of the day, we really didn't think about what does it mean for the individuals and what are we losing by treating people as Muppets, by treating them as interchangeable cogs. And we didn't recognize that in this, it's really a systems problem where people are changing. We're evolving ourselves. What we are today and who we want to be in the future, hopefully is not static. And then what the business needs today and what it's going to need in the future, I think we've all learned. None of us have any idea exactly what's going to be thrown our way next year or next month because we know that there's a lot more uncertainty. And so if you want to think about that as an opportunity and you want to think about that in a way that builds resilience, you really need to start deconstructing. And so what we think about at SuccessFactors is what we call the whole self model. That I am more than just my job role or my past jobs or even my diverse ethnic makeup, or even where I work or what I do or who I report to. I'm even more than the skills I bring. I have unique passions, I have unique strengths, I have things that motivate me intrinsically. And if I can share that more with the organization, and if I can build my own contribution model to the overall system of the company, I can not just build skills for myself, but I can join other teams and we can build skills together. I can join temporary assignments and take on projects that I don't know how to do so that I can learn. And so instead of thinking of everything as being decided by hierarchy and organization, instead turning the whole thing upside down and saying, let's engage each person to help us dynamically build the pathway to the outcomes that we need. And that's why when I said I love empathy, of course I love empathy. I agree we need diversity, but we also need curiosity embedded in how we solve problems, and we need to tap into that collective intelligence, both with our systems and with our humans, so that we can problem solve together. Because if we think that we understand all the solutions and can process our way to them, we're probably going to miss out and not really drive the kind of results that we're looking for.
I think I fully agree with you stated, Meg, on how the world should work, how the people should be engaging in the future. I think there is still in quite a number of companies a long way to go for people to change their behavior, to change that culture. And that's why I believe as well the leaders, the managers need to find exactly how to describe the way how we should be working. Yeah. And they need to lead the people through this, because for many of our people, it is a lot of change on how they worked yesterday and what we need from them tomorrow.
And it's only going to go more.
And it's going faster and faster, with the crises, the complexity, the uncertainties.
And if I may, I think this is the hardest part, because I see in my field companies trying to build new teams, new talents and all that. And there is I would say, hard playbook. Learning, you mentioned, super important. Purpose, teams want to have some impact on the world, super clear. There are some core aspects. But the culture, and you have many large companies who try to mimic a bit what they see from startups and things, and try to make a startup culture at scale in huge, large global corporation. It is super hard. And that's the hardest part. And on those talents which are hotly competed in the tech field, it makes a huge difference. And that's one of the big advantage of some, agile, nimble, modern, open, inclusive, whatever you want, companies versus others. And that's the hardest part to change. I fully agree with you, Astrid. And what you said on the skills necessary, one thing which struck me, building upon your point, is at school today, most of what is required to succeed is you work alone in a limited time to solve a problem where there's a unique solution. And that's what in science, computer science, people do a lot. Real life, you work in teams on problem where you have an infinite number of solutions and sometimes no solution at all. So there's a big shift to do also, I think, in the curriculum.
And the topic in school, you're trained to, this is your performance, you have to solve the problem on your own, and you are rated on your own solution. And it's exactly the opposite in business, because you need to come together, you need to be open, you need to share, and together find a solution. And you're not graded on your own performance, because that's the opposite of what we need.
Yeah, that's very true. And that's one of the reasons that I also like House of Beautiful Business so much, because you guys bring so many experts from so many different backgrounds to work together. Like this year, actually, you have the Dream, if I'm not mistaken, in which so many stakeholders are coming.
Yes, exactly. So I think, just to build on the performance and solution thing and the right and wrong and this binary that we sort of have to break. I also think at the House of Beautiful Business, where we are big fans of having conversations that go deeper without predicting that there has to be an outcome, there has to be a grade, there has to be a solution. Maybe no. Maybe what we should be doing is actually sitting more together in spaces that feel, safe and open and brave at the same time, and that allow for things to go into whatever they will, be in emergent ways. So one of the ways that we're doing this is actually this June 2nd to 5th in Sintra in Portugal. Our gathering that is called The Dream, the underlying dream, for everything that is, high up, conscious and beyond in the universe. And it also sort of rooting down into the natural world and making us aware of what it actually means to be human, and what that means for our businesses as leaders and so forth, and everything.
Isn't that exactly, Meg, what you mentioned regarding the world is uncertain, complex, volatile, and we don't know the solutions, right? With Corona crisis coming, none of us had an idea of what are we going to do and how are we going to manage it. So we all just iterated and tried to find out.
Yeah. I think that your point about the leadership piece and how leaders need to help people come, the thing that people miss is that even the leader's role and how they were trained to do their job is changing. And so there's as much unlearning necessary in our world today as there is learning new things. And this is why oftentimes people look to bring youth and bring people that haven't been trained in the way that it was always done, because that's the answer to the problem we completely understand, right? I think the idea of diversity, of bringing in those range of ideas and recognizing that it's scary. We have to be comfortable not knowing. We have to be honest that we have no idea what we're doing. And when we have to think together that what we have empathy, we have curiosity, we have compassion, we have good problem-solving skills, and we have each other. And then let's dig in and make something happen together as a result of that.
And even in that time to translate it for our people to say, hey, we all don't know.
Exactly.
But give them the confidence to together, we will figure it out. So we have a way how to find maybe a solution. We have a way how to get together and bring us on the table. But I can't tell you at the moment how it's going to work. Yeah, that's a new part as well for the leaders, that they are not the ones that have an answer.
Yeah, that's true. We're all just kind of learning as we go and figuring it out.
And I think if I can build on that, I think one key aspect of that is also to listen, right? But to really listen, and not to sort of, as you say, come from the idea of leaders always having the answers, but actually being the ones who listen more carefully to the teams and the employees and the younger ones, more inexperienced ones, who might actually have ideas and worthwhile, suggestions on how to go about things and how to try things that are not as, convoluted or convoluted or complex, but just in a different spirit of trying something else.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, we can come across to this next point, which is new generations coming into our workforce. I actually joined 3 years ago, but because of the pandemic, feels even longer, shorter. But I joined SAP very recently, and it is very noticeable how these new generations, sometimes I hate generalizations because actually this can be a trend just because of timings more than just generational. But it's a reality that currently people are looking more for jobs that have kind of a motivation, that they actually have a feeling or a purpose behind it. I would like to ask you, Monika, how do you think companies can welcome these new people that are looking for a purpose within the organization? Do they need to change something?
Yeah, I think, of course, there's this trend of now everything going remote and so forth, which comes with its own challenges. But in general, I think, yes, purpose is important, and yes, having sort of a clear narrative and vision is important, but accountability is sort of what, everyone I think is looking for. So I want accountability, I want transparency on what you're actually doing. And even if the answer is well, we're trying, but it's not perfect yet, but we have an ambition and we are, we're following that in a serious way. I think that is great. The other side of it, more of the how, I think that leaders or organizations and the people who lead them should understand themselves as experienced designers or curators, more than, you come in, you get your job, you have your list, these are the things to do, tick your boxes and then go. But then actually create spaces for, again, belonging, right? I mean, loneliness is a thing generally in the world, but also with increasing remote work. So I want to create spaces where people can come together, whether that is in person or online, which again, don't necessarily have to have the business agenda, or not only, where we come together as the people we are in order to get to know each other. And I think also to create a culture where you, especially for leaders, give trust generously, right? Where you don't fall directly, especially when someone comes new in, that you fall into this trap of you don't know what the things are, in a special way here. Let me micromanage you, but I'm totally not a micromanager. These kinds of things. You can sort of combat them in a way that you give more than you're expecting in the first place.
Okay, that's really interesting. And I would like to say, yes, for sure, we have to give a little bit more trust on people. But it's also, according to Forbes, the new generations last around 2 years and 9 months in a job. So how can we actually rely so much on them? Do you think it has to be a change within the organization or a change in the mentality of the people? What do you think about it, Meg?
So I think that the way that you need to look at this is about growth. The reason that people early in their careers tend to stay 2 years, 9 months is because when you're new, you have a lot of opportunity and you want to keep putting yourself in positions of growth. I think that is something that everybody should celebrate. And the way I tend to look at it is that I want to make sure that when people work in my organization, that I'm growing, that they're growing, and the business is growing, right? And if you think that way, and if you really mean it, then you create opportunity for people to raise their hands to do new things. And if those opportunities require them to go somewhere else, you celebrate that because that is on their path to growth. And if you can build a culture that really embraces that for us to solve the problems that are in front of us that we need to solve, and if we're going to be able to keep up with this pace of change, we have to have a very focused learning culture that is one we all embrace, that all of us should be learning new things throughout our career and growing and developing ourselves in all the ways we can to contribute more to become who we want to become. And so I think there's space for a yes and there and for a both there, that yes, I do think people will change roles, change jobs more frequently. I also think that work will become more adaptable and changing over time. And so the way I think of it today is we like to talk about it like an opportunity marketplace, a place where people can go and do temporary assignments or new things that are self-initiated to go grow, or they can start and solicit others to come join them in a team to grow. But I think conceptually within an organization, you have to have a foundation that it is your responsibility wherever you are as an individual and as an organization, that everybody needs to be growing because you're just never going to keep up otherwise.
And I fully agree. I mean, for us in a company as well, we try to give these opportunities for people that every 2-3 years you can change around, you can change. I mean, we are running 12 different brands in, I think, 120 locations worldwide. So give people a chance to grow. But what we try also is to have a little bit of a stickiness to say amongst us, we are like a herd, we are a family. So stick with us, because I think the war for talent is so tough out there that I think as well the companies in itself need to learn how to give the opportunities and not lose the people after 2 years and 9 months to another company. Because the recruitment, the finding, it is just tremendously hard, and it's getting harder and harder.
Yeah, terribly exhausting too.
What I think is the tech companies have a bit led the way for all those questions, because they have super demanding teams with very strong culture. And I like a lot what you were saying, Meg, on celebrating departures. We see more and more, I mean, in the environment I operate in, the so-called boomerangs, which is people join a company, they leave, they come back, and that's okay. It's not like it was a big betrayal. You left. No, this is good. And some people leave, they come back, they bring new stuff to the company. And the family you're talking about, Astrid, I think goes beyond, in fact, just the one company. It's a full ecosystem. It's relationships of people. And companies, they just need to give real reason for people to stay, to come to the office. You were alluding to that, Monika, and not just assume people will stay or come to the office just because they have to, or because there's some sort of like spiritual fidelity to a brand or whatever. No, you need to give them reasons. And I completely agree that the most thing people are looking for today is learning. I think pride is very important. And many people are around purpose. And of course, purpose is super important in companies. But in the end, if teams are proud of what they achieve, of being part of some very diverse teams, and they see some real results of what they do, there's a massive difference. And when we survey data scientists on, what you want from your employers, what's your dream and all that, the number one thing they want to see is craftsmanship. I've built something I'm proud of. And of course, this thing must have some sort of impact on the world. What is hard is exactly what you were saying, when we chop things into too many small pieces and everyone is in charge of very small pieces of a big system. It's super hard for teams. Larger teams in charge of full things gives much more pride and purpose, I feel, to people.
Especially if those things are hard.
Yes.
People feel proud when they did something hard.
Yes.
They don't feel proud when they did something
Exactly.
That's very true. Well, to conclude, I would actually like to leverage from all of these different backgrounds, well, not leverage, but take advantage of all of these different backgrounds and expertise. And I want to see what you prioritize to make the future of work more human, in a nutshell. What do you think is the most essential thing, Meg?
I think the most essential thing is growth. And as an individual, I need to care about growing and developing, and as an organization, I need to care about that as well.
I believe the topic will be that we have to train ourselves, as I said, on the topic of empathy. We need to care for each other on a human level, and that we not only focus always just on the business success, but how we have reached it together.
I think humility. Humility for ourselves as individuals, but also us as humans and what we're able to achieve, and what actually is relevant and what we're actually trying to accomplish on a greater level.
And that'll be on a slightly different tone. Fully subscribe to everything that was said, but technology will play a major role in our organization, and really making sure that we find ways to have human, technology, AI, algos, all these things work together, amplify each other, will be super critical for organization and the workforce at large.
Actually, yeah, I agree with all of you. Astrid, you were going to add something? No? Okay, well, thank you all very much for joining us today. Thank you to our esteemed panel of speakers for all of your contributions. And yeah, don't forget to check our content and follow our Ambition Beyond journal on LinkedIn. Thank you.